Hi, Stelson. I'm Mac. My name's Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And I get the privilege of introducing our speaker tonight. I'm going to keep it short because we've already taken too much time. Bill's been a huge part of my recovery. Is this on? I hope not. Turn it on. Bill's been a huge part of my recovery. You know, he's in Sioux City there, and when I'm not here, a lot of times I make meetings down there in Sioux City, and I've been so grateful to get to know Bill, and you know, I just can't wait to hear his story. So that's all I've got. Yep, give me another.
I'm Bill. I'm a narcotics addict.
Bill.
There's a place I go to in Sioux City called Living Free, and this is the first time I've ever told my story outside of that place. So thank you for inviting me. I come from pretty much a single-parent home from the age of 2 on up. My mother didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't work church, and me, and that's about it. You know, where I got my disease, or my beginning of my disease, was from the neighborhood. There was a good friend of mine. He had brothers and one sister that were about 10 years older than us, and he'd sneak in their room and steal their pot. And so I was 5 or 6 years old when I smoked pot for the first time. I never knew it was right or wrong. I just knew I liked it. I liked what it did to me, and I had no problem saying no the second time, third time, any time after. Before I was 10 years old, I would also sneak beers out of my relatives' refrigerators, and that's where I got that's where I made the decision that Pabst Blue Ribbon tastes like crap. But every time I was at my relatives, I had to sneak one. So I guess I was always looking for something, you know, even though didn't know what. Around the age of 10, I had a bad cold, and my mom made me a hot toddy, and the cold ended up going away, and the whiskey bottle was in the cupboard, and I'd come home from school, and I'd get into that whiskey bottle, and I'd take a few swigs, and that made me feel good. So I had no problem doing it the next day and the next day, and come home from school one day, and the bottle was gone. I was bummed. Went on like that, smoking pot off and on, and drinking, and when I was 14, we thought that I looked old enough to buy booze. You had to be 18 then. So we put our pennies together, and I went into the Sam's Kosher Market and bought some booze. And my active addiction started spiraling downward at that time. The buying booze and drinking increased, and by then I was in high school. I knew more people. I could get more drugs, and my grades started going down, and I started missing school. I'd get in trouble once in a while, and but no consequences I faced were ever enough to make me think that I needed to change my way of living. Turned 16, got my driver's license. My active addiction took another spiral downward. I was able to go farther and do more things to get high again. And I can remember getting real high before school, and I'd go eat lunch, and then I'd go out in the back of the one building and get high again, and get high on the way home from school, and eat supper, and then get high, and it became my way of life. Every chance I had, I was getting high. Missing more school, my grades went down even further. Well, I got my driver's license with a D minus. That's I don't know if that was a good thing to get my license or not. Like I said, I could go further and get more drugs. Somehow I made it through high school. I don't know if I graduated or they just didn't want me back. I made the decision to go to technical college, where I was doing real well for a while, and then I actually slowed down on getting high. It was harder to get booze. I had to go like 15 miles to another town to get booze. Sometimes I was willing to do that, and sometimes I wasn't. All the other drugs pretty much stopped. I was in my 7th month of a 12-month college, and I had a grandpa pass away, and I didn't deal with that very well. Came back to Sioux City and got high for about 3 weeks, and just so I didn't feel. And then after about 3 weeks, it was my birthday, so I said, "The heck with it." I got high for 3 more weeks, and just so I could celebrate. Ended up spending all my money for college, so I had to drop out of college and move back to Sioux City, and that's where all the dead-end jobs and all the trouble started happening the most. And I'd get all messed up and get into fights once in a while and go to jail once in a while. Still never seeing any consequences severe enough to make me want to stop getting high. It's about 20 years old, and I was talking to a kid from the old neighborhood that told me when I was 17 my mother thought about putting me in treatment. Since then I've thought maybe that would have been a good idea. I might not have stayed clean, but at least the seed would have been planted, some of you could probably relate. Once that seed's planted, the next time you get high is different. I was getting close to being 21, and I got 2 drunk driving charges in 3 weeks. The same year I got set up by a friend for selling pot. I can't remember how many months I was on probation for all 3 charges. Still not seeing them consequences as negative, or I just thought that was the way life was going to be, because that's what everyone was doing around me. I couldn't see how my life was spiraling down, because that was the norm. My life had already become centered around getting high. Clear back when I was a teenager. I lost my driver's license. I continued to do dead-end jobs. I'd go get drunk, and then I'd go to work, and I'd go in the bathroom and get sick and go back to work, and get so high that I couldn't go to work, and still never seeing the consequences as severe enough to make me want to stop getting high. When I was 21, 1992, I was court ordered to go to treatment. It was a 7-week treatment plan, and after the first 6 weeks, I was getting high, and a lot of times I'd go sit in the basement and smoke crack and drink beer, and then I'd go to treatment and tell them what I thought they wanted to hear, and they'd send me home, and I thought I was, some treatment guy, and go get high again. And well, after hearing all this treatment stuff for 6 weeks, I started getting this little bitty thing called a conscience. And getting high while going to treatment started to eat me up. So I confessed to the therapist, and she had to call her boss. Her boss says, "I'll kick him out." And probation officer found out, so then they sent me to a 28-day inpatient treatment in Mount Pleasant. This all happened shortly after they found my uncle in my grandma's bedroom, spare bedroom, after he shot himself. And when that happened, instead of going to be with my family, I went and got a case of beer and tried not to feel. Today I feel like a big loser because I did that. I should have been with my family. I shouldn't have been getting drunk. I can't change it, but sometimes I still kick myself in the ass for that. Not being with my family at that time and many other times was due to my getting high. I would somehow get 30 days here and 60 days here, and only to get high again because I never had the true desire to stop using. I managed to stop getting high on Halloween in '92 for a short period of time. Still never seeing any consequences severe enough to make me stop getting high. I went on like that for a long time, and then July of '97, something happened, and I told myself enough was enough, and I stopped getting high for about 2.5 years. I'd go to meetings once in a while, and then I got to the point where I wasn't going to meetings. I was just kind of hanging out, playing cards, and I was hanging around the wrong person. He was an in-and-outer, splinter ass. He was always on the fence. He didn't know which way he wanted to go. He wanted to ride home one night, and he said, "I want to stop and get a six-pack." So I said, "All right, I'll get a six-pack too." That's because I didn't have recovery. I was just going and hanging around people at a meeting house, playing cards, and I had a real good job. I worked at Gateway. I was making good money. I had a few $1,000s in the savings account. Apartment pickup. I had no complaints. He wanted to get a six-pack, so I got a six-pack. It's like I never had them 2.5 years clean. So that led to a relapse of 2 years and 3 months. Also, back in July of '97, I went to a hypnotist to stop smoking. I relapsed in January, and I went back to cigarettes in June. Went back to my drug of choice in June. Never had no consequences. I was getting high like Friday, Saturday, and I maybe 1 or 2 weekends I wasn't getting high in the month, and you know how it goes. It progressed and progressed, and then it became every weekend. Then it became Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and started missing a lot of work. Missed so much work that they fired me the Friday before Christmas, 2001. Heck of a Christmas present. I still had a few dollars in the bank, so I was living off that. I'd get high, I'd sleep, I'd order a pizza, and then I'd get high and I'd sleep and I'd order a pizza. I managed to live that way for 4 months. Ran out of money. I wasn't employable. I was messed up for so long that I probably couldn't even remember how to fill out an application if I tried. That and I had no desire to work. I I lost the desire to do a lot of things. I was getting high so much and for so long that it became my life again. I was a tornado in the world. I was a tornado in the life of my family and friends, and I got high on a Wednesday, and I went to sleep and I slept 2 nights. And I went to a AA function on a Saturday night. I think it was like May 2nd, 2002. I had hit many bottoms before. Sometimes the consequences were severe enough that I chose to live my life different. I didn't always choose to stop getting high. Sometimes I choose to use different drugs. Basic text talks about that. Well, this time in 2002, I didn't want to get to the lows I was at before. There was one time I burned so many bridges, and I was such a tornado in the world that I had a box of clothes and a pair of shoes, and I had nowhere to go. Luckily, there was some relatives that I still got along with that took me in. And there was another time I had did the same thing, and I was living in a suburban in the middle of January in Sioux City. It gets a little cold in the middle of January. So in 2002, I didn't want to create another deep bottom. I went to that dance, and I found out there was a midnight meeting, NA midnight meeting. So I went to the meeting, and some things happened in the meeting, and I got real mad, and I left. And I gave another guy a ride home, and I knew I shouldn't have, but I drove past one of my dealer's houses. I managed not to stop. I ended up staying clean for a little over 4 months, and I had talked 3 times in the first 30 days of meetings, and never bothered to read a book. I never got a phone number. Never asked for a sponsor. Didn't have a higher power. Only thing I was doing was going to meetings, and I did manage to get a job. I was working for a while. And I went to a 10:30 meeting in the morning and had a mixed drink in my hand by noon. Like I said, the only thing I was doing was going to meetings, and all the things I had going on in my gut and in my head just tore me up, and I just thought I had to get high again, and that was a 1-day deal, and I went back to meetings and ended up on another 4-day bender. 2 of those days, my friends' kids were there. I had fun, doing my drug of choice and whatever else, and I thought enough's enough. So I ended up getting high again for the last time in September of 2002. There was no negative consequences on that 4-day bender. I just knew that where I was before, and I didn't want to end up there again. So, try to get this quick here. I managed to ask for someone to be my temporary sponsor. I asked for assignments. I did some reading in the books. Still didn't have a higher power. Got some phone numbers. Started talking to people. Made some friends. I listened to other people. I listened to my predecessors, and I heard a thing or two, or read a thing or two in the books, and somehow found a power greater than myself. All that happened because I surrendered 110%. That's something I never did in any of my other attempts to get clean. I had enough honesty to admit I had a problem and I needed help, but I never surrendered. I think that's probably why I ended up high again. Time went on. I started doing different service work things, like coffee cups and ashtrays. Ended up staying clean long enough to give me a key to a clubhouse. I would always get there early, and I would always stay late. Still doing different service work things, and I lived like that for a long time. It took me a few years to actually work the steps. I kind of felt guilty about that because I heard other people saying that they got through this step and they got through this step and they had less clean time than me. So I kind of felt bad. And I was talking to someone one time and he says, "You don't need to feel bad. It's not a race." You know. We didn't become addicted in one day. So remember, easy does it. Since then, I've worked the steps in different ways. Now I'm trying to work the steps with the Step Ring Guides book. A lot of damn questions in that book.
Yeah. Shit.
I found I find I put it down faster than I pick it up.
Yeah.
But one thing I have today that I didn't have, say, clear back in '97 when I cleaned up then, is today I have far more willingness than I ever did before. And I try to remain open-minded. I've always heard people say, remain teachable. And for me to learn something, I have to be open-minded. I have to practice the suggestions that you people offer me. I've been reading the basic text a lot more. One thing I read a lot is recovery and relapse. I have to always remember that I'm eligible for a relapse. I'm never fixed, cured, graduated, promoted to healthiness. So that's why I have to keep coming back. Back in September, I celebrated 10 years. And for about 3 weeks before I got my coin, I fell into a major struggle. Seemed like all I could think of was getting high again. I was at a place, and that morning I really wanted to get drunk. So I broke out the basic text and I started reading Recovery and Relapse. And the more I read, the more mad I got. The more I thought, I can't get drunk. And I was getting pissed because I can't get drunk. Because I know that a deep bottom is waiting for me. Maybe even worse than the ones I've hit before. Jails, institutions, and death. Going to jail because of my active addiction never made me think that I needed to stop living the way I was living. I knew I was messed up in the head, so going to a mental ward wasn't going to make me change my ways. So I knew that I had to keep going to meetings, I had to keep reading the books, talking to people, calling phone numbers, talking to my sponsor. I struggled like that for probably about 4 months, 3 to 4 months. I started going to meetings for other people. I stopped going because I wanted to go. Deep down inside, I knew that I had to go for me. And that reminds me, back in I think '04, I met some people in recovery from meetings, and they were looking at losing custody of their child, and she got the decision that they lost custody, and she was walking to her dope dealer's house, and she walked past the Living Free meeting house, and already had the seed planted. She sat there on the side of the steps and waited for the door to open. something made her decide to stay clean for herself. And she's still clean today. I get strength from people like that. I've never had a child, but I know that there's a real deep sadness when someone loses their custody. So that and other things give me strength, and reading the books give me hope that maybe before the end of the day will get better if I'm struggling. One thing I try to do now is I hit my knees in the morning, and I talk to my higher power and I pray. And then at night I say thank you for helping me stay clean today, and I pray some more. I learned all that from the people of Narcotics Anonymous. So now that I've taken up all the time, thank you for asking me to be here.
Thanks for coming. Our name is Dawson. Let's go for